سلااوتان لەبێ ئەزیزانی من بەردەوام لەگەڵتان لە تەواوکردنی بابەتەکانی کیمیای پۆلی دوازە سیستەمی ئینگلیزی کۆتا دەرس لێرە وەستا بووین ئەمفۆتێریک ئینشاءڵڵا ڕۆ لێرە دەست پێ دەکەین ئەگەر توانیمان چاپتەری دوو تەواو بکەین باشە ئەگەر نا دەیخێنە ڤیدیۆیشکە ئینشاءڵڵا با دەست پێ بکەین. First of all, amphoteric. What do you mean by the term of amphoteric? Not the compound, only amphoteric. Amphoteric, it's like a property, okay? Anything that has this property can act as acid and as base at the same time, or, of course, based on the reaction. But the point is, anything with the amphoteric property can be acid, a proton donor, and can be a base, a proton acceptor. Remember, among the three definitions, we will use Bronsted-Lowry theory, which deals with the proton transferring process. لەمە دواتەنا پێویستیمان بە Bronsted-Lowry هەیە ئاگاداربوون. پێویستیمان بە Bronsted هەیە پاشان باسی proton transferring reactionەکان دەکەین. The proton transferring reactions can be explained by the Bronsted-Lowry theory, which deals with the proton donor and acceptor inside of any reaction. Amphoteric. First of all, I'm not going to explain the amphoteric compound directly. Just stay with me. Let's have some general idea, the ABC of amphoteric. Then we'll get to we will dive into it. As you know, acids are proton donor. They change color of the acid-base indicator into red. Bases are proton acceptor. But we have something that can act as either acid or base, which is called amphoteric. What is amphoteric? Amphoteric is something can be ion, these are ions, or it can be a compound. By the way, what is the amphoteric? Mr. Amphoteric, it can be ion and oh my god, vitamin deficiency. Okay. Amphoteric, it's something that can be ion or compound that can donate or accept a proton based on the reaction. Easily, my dear. Amphoteric, پێناسکێ بکە. دەشێ ion بێ، دەشێ compound بێ کە دەتوانێت proton accept بکە یان proton donate بکە. واتە بیبەخشێ و وەری بگری بە گوێرە ئەو reactionێک کە تێیدایە. We have two types of amphoteric. First of all, amphoteric compounds. We have three amphoteric compounds. Good. لبريكة بابي من سن amphoteric compound man هي 3. 1, 2, 3. طبعا زور معنى amphoteric compound كان بلام according to our book we only have 3 amphoteric compounds which are H2O, a molecular compound, aluminum hydroxide, this is aluminum hydroxide, and this one, write this name, chromium, this is H, chromium, triple I of course, hydroxide. I think I have seen aluminum hydroxide in somewhere else. And where? The first page. In the first 2 pages of chapter 2, we have aluminum hydroxide as the antacids. مادة جترشية. لبيرتا, we have 3 antacids: aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, and sodium hydrogen carbonate or sodium bicarbonate. Well, let's get back to the amphoteric. What is the amphoteric? We have 2 types of amphoteric compounds. We have 3 compounds. And also we have amphoteric ions. Mister, how do we know if something is amphoteric ion? Okay, we're pretty sure about the amphoteric compounds because we have only 3 of them. Memorize them and then you will know what are the amphoteric compounds. ALOH by 3, CROH by 3, H2O. Which one is a molecular amphoteric compound? Of course, H2O. Which one is the antacids amphoteric compound? Aluminum hydroxide. Which one is amphoteric compound? All of them. Good. How about the amphoteric ion? Okay. First of all, the charge is negative. Because it's ion, so it must be a charged particle. The charge is negative and it needs to have proton to donate. Sometimes it has one proton, sometimes two protons. Let's see. Look at this. I'm going to explain the amphoteric ions. Think about HS. For the sake of negative, so it can accept a proton to become, add one proton to become acceptor. I'm going to open a new page, it's better. Look, HS. For the sake of negative, it can accept a proton to become H2S. And because it has a proton, so it can donate the proton to become a donator, S negative 2. So now this is a donor or an acceptor or both. It can be both based on the reaction, based on the neighborhood. Another one, H2PO3 negative. It has a negative charge. For the sake of this, it can be an acceptor to accept a proton to become, this is PO4, I'm sorry. Okay, to accept, PO3 is also okay, but PO4 it's better. To become H3PO4, and because it has two protons, so it can donate two more protons. Release one proton to become HPO4 negative 2. Or you can write negative 2 like this instead. Another one, look at this, my dear. H2, another H2, HCO3 negative. It has a negative charge, so it will become the acceptor to form H2CO3, and as a donor, for the sake of proton, it can release its own proton to form CO3 negative 2. So now, in conclusion, are they donors or acceptors, or they can be both? They can be both. In this case, we call them amphoteric. But ion or compound, they are ions because of the charges. Great. I'm sorry. There is a very important note about them. All of them are amphoteric. All of them, they will become amphoteric. The ions and the compounds, they will become amphoteric if we have them from the outside of the reaction. If we have them without any reaction. But once they get into the reaction, they will become either acid or base. I will explain this. Stay with me. يعني زي شونا أنا دبنا أمفوتيريك بومر زي لنا رياكشني نبن. لنا يج reaction of course. دبنا أمفوتيريك أجر هاتو لنا رياكشني نبن. بلا ما قبسنا لنا رياكشني يان دبنا acid يان دبنا تي base. بقولي الرياكشن كي. أجر بو donor the beta acid. أجر بو acceptor the beta C. The beta base. Okay. بابين example شحال كين. Wait, I'll get back to this. Okay, it's the right time to talk about this, no problem. According to Brown's theory, hopefully you remember, I said water is an amphoteric because it can be acid and base according to the reaction. Look at it. Here we have a reaction, HCl plus H2O to form Cl and H3O. In this reaction, as you can see, water accepts a proton, so it's a base. In the first reaction, water is a base. Good? In the second reaction, water is an acid. It donates a proton. Great. There's a point. According to these two reactions, what is water? Acid or base or both? Both. So it's better to say amphoteric. According to these two reactions, what is water? Amphoteric. Water is amphoteric according to these two reactions. Good. According to the first reaction, water is a base. According to the second reaction, water is an acid. And if I say, what is H2O? Mr. H2O, it can be acid or base. It's amphoteric. Inside of the first reaction, it's a base. Inside of the second reaction, it's the acid. So, it depends on the position. يعني بونمنا باس خۆمام کە بۆ نەیسا من لە ماڵێ بابم پێم دەڵێ کوڕم لە دەرەوە برادەرەکانم بە هۆگری بانگم دەکەن لە قوتابخانەی تەڵەبەکانم پێم دەڵێن مامۆستا کوڕەکەم پێم دەڵێ بابا هەموو ئەو قسانە ڕاستە دەربارەی من کاتە بەگشتی ئەمن چیمە هەموو ئەو شتانەوە وایە ئەو ناوانەی باسم کرد هەمووی لۆ من دەگونجێ ئەی ئەگەر لە قوتابخانێ بووم کەس دەتوانی پێم بڵێتن بابا کەس دەتوانی پێم بڵێ کوڕم کەس ناتوانێت هەموو پێم دەڵێن مامۆستا وایە کەواتە ئێستا generally what is water is amphoteric ئەی ئەگەر چۆن ناو ڕیاکشنە چی ناتوانی بەدڵی خۆت ناوی لێ بنێ according to the reaction water is a base ئاوها شجانی من با بەردەوام بین سیرکە ئاها ئۆکێ what is the hydrogen bicarbonate also called this is hydrogen or this is bicarbonate only this is called bicarbonate or you can say hydrogen carbonate both are correct good what is hydrogen carbonate or bicarbonate ion okay mister it has a negative charge so it will become the acceptor as a base for the sake of proton it will become an acid so it's amphoteric but inside of this reaction what is the hydrogen carbonate or what is the bicarbonate ion okay in this reaction bicarbonate it became H2CO3 acceptor so it's a base باشا فرقی چییە in the first reaction bicarbonate ion it became amphoteric but in the first question I mean but in the second question bicarbonate it became a base alone you know why because here this is a general question about bicarbonate what is bicarbonate it can be acid or base according to the reaction but here it's inside of the reaction so we will decide according to the DUT the position according to the reaction good another one what is water okay water is amphoteric mister what is water is amphoteric but water inside of this reaction has been converted to OH a donor so it's acid you see this another question in this reaction which one is amphoteric by the way be careful my dear if we have a single reaction if we have a single reaction this is impossible to have amphoteric with a single reaction nothing is amphoteric which one is amphoteric none of them without thinking but mister I have seen this as the amphoteric ion okay this is amphoteric ion and this one is amphoteric compound but because we have a reaction okay in this reaction H2O is a base and HS look at this I get to think about HS has been converted into H2S so you know it's also a base so both are bases in this reaction based on the donors and acceptors if you remember this is a base this is acid so this one will become a conjugate base that's why be careful with this okay mister so both are amphoteric substances but because we have a single reaction so we don't know or there is no amphoteric but if I remove the reaction as you can see in the question number 5 so both are amphoterics in this case they both become amphoteric good look at here which of the following is amphoteric okay HS is amphoteric and H2O is amphoteric but mister the question said is amphoteric ion this is the ion so only this one is correct which of the following is amphoteric compound this is amphoteric this is also amphoteric but the question said amphoteric compound my dear compound which one is a compound it means a neutral substance a chargeless substance the total negative must be equal to the total positive you know they cancel out each other to have a zero overall charge so only H2O is amphoteric compound here another question according to these two reactions which one is amphoteric now we have two reactions first of all we need to look for something that is in both reactions okay so which substance is in both reactions we have H2O in both reactions, okay? H3O, no, it's only in this one. And H4, it's only here, okay? And then the substance must act as both acid and base. In one reaction must be acid, in the other must be a base. Let's see, H2O here, H2O here, it's a base here, it's a base, good. But here, it's an acid. Yeah, so H2O is amphoteric according to these two reactions. Good. These are some general notes. I'm not going to talk about these things anymore. I've explained these in a very nice detail during the prior lessons, so just get into there. But now I prefer to let's take some general notes. Say it, Kababi, man. Leila Handek, this is something like a vocabulary or grammar. Really, this is a linguistic problem. باور كيس بيوندي بكيميائي أو استنا بيوندي بإنجليش سكيل وهي. إني أوه موضوع كم. تنها شوازي در برينا كي the style of expression is different. So by how many different ways we can express the conjugates? We have the following different expressions for them. Good. Look, this is a formic acid. What is this? Formic acid. Or I prefer to solve this with this example. Look, with this example. Formic acid. Okay, I'm going to solve this here. I will explain all of these terms here, my dear, with this question. Stay with me. Let's solve this together in a very nice way. Just be patient. Be patient. Wait. The color of the background is black. Nice. Good. Which of the following is true for the aqueous or aqueous solution of formic acid? What is the formic acid? CH2. Formic acid is HCOOH. This is formic acid. Be careful, my dear. HCOOH plus by H2O. This is a weak acid, of course. Okay, since it's acid, it must donate the proton to the water molecule to form H3O plus by what? HCOOH, formate. Let's write the names. This is formate. 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 Good. Hydronium. Of course, this is water and this is formic acid. Nice. Great. Let's identify the pairs. Okay, this is one pair. Okay, acid base. The one with more proton is the acid. Acid. This is a base. Here, another pair. Acid, base, acid, and the base. Great. Now, look at this. These are conjugates, of course. Stay focused here. Stay focused. As I said, stay focused. Look at this. This is a weak acid, right? Formic acid, it's a weak acid, so this one must be a weak base. Last time I said this, the strength of the water molecule depends on the neighbor of water. Depends of its neighbor. If the neighbor is strong, water must be strong. If the neighbor is weak, water must also be weak. Good? And these are strong conjugates. Strong conjugates. Good. As you can see, all the choices are about H3O. Good. So what is H3O? Strong conjugate acid. Look at this. Also, we can say this is a strong acid. Stronger acid, of course. When I say strong, it means compared to the initial. Strong acid, good. Or it's okay to say a conjugate acid alone. Or we can say conjugate of a base, right? This is a conjugate of a base. Conjugate of a base. Or strong conjugate acid of a weak base. Look at this. The first one, conjugate acid, H3O is a conjugate acid, true. The second one, I mean B, look at this. Strong conjugate acid, yeah, it's a strong conjugate acid. This is also true. E, conjugate acid of a base, yeah, it's a conjugate acid of a base, right? Conjugate of a base or conjugate acid of a base. Nice. This one, strong acid, of course, it's a strong acid also. Conjugate of a weak base, yeah, as I said, conjugate of a base, all are true. Another one, look at this, my dear. Based on the previous question, let's use the same terms for HCOOH. This is a strong conjugate base, also called a strong base or conjugate base of an acid, okay, or conjugate base of a weak acid. All of the following terms are applicable for this. As I told you, this is just something like linguistic. We have something like general information. والله أنا مو باسش كده بس دوباره باسیه كمان سيري إلك بزانا. Think about H2O. H2O, it can be a donor to form OH. Okay, but OH, it cannot donate further. So the only option for OH is the accepting proton, accepting. Okay, so this is acceptor. To reform H2O. And H2O, it can become H3O. But H3O, it cannot accept more to form H4O. But the only option for this reforming water in this case will become a donor. So this is only a donor. This is only acceptor. This is amphoteric. It's both. Another one. Think about NH3. NH3, it will become NH4. Good. So this is acceptor. But NH4, it cannot accept further proton to form NH5. So the only option is reforming the original substance. So this is only a donor. Only donor. Good? Another one. HCl, after donating its proton to form Cl. Cl, it doesn't have any, there is no proton for this. It doesn't have any proton to donate further. So the only option for this is acceptor. This is acceptor. These are the things that I say. We have two nice questions. Which of the following is an acid? Is what? Is an acid. It means only donor. Only donor. Good. Which of the following is an acid? It means it's only a donor. Okay, this is only a donor. True. H2O, it's both. Donor and acceptor. So we call this amphoteric. NH3, it's acceptor. This is only acceptor. This is both. This is only donor. Based on the question, which of the following is an acid? So the one that is an acceptor. بابي متخوابه شوازه ميخوينه مستر كمان بروتوني زور وأيان هوا والله أوها ميخوينه غلط علميا فير بتخوا يعني كاك NH4. Where do we get NH4? From NH3. NH3, it's a base. NH4 will become an acid. Okay? Think about this question. Which of the following is a base? It means only acceptor. Only what? Acceptor. Great. H2S, it's only donor. It can donate a proton to form HS negative. But there's no option for this to become H3S. No, it's impossible. We don't have this. Okay. H3O, it's only a donor also. Only donor. And how about this? S negative, is there any proton to donate? No, mister. It has a negative. It's a negative ion. Okay, there is no proton, so this is only acceptor. هسه كشتك تقول كاك هيك بروتوني بيوي دونيتيكا كل هيك بيوي بخوي مفلسة يعني بيوستي بيوي إلى acceptor بس ورتك. It's only acceptor. This is a base. چاوەڕێت لۆی دەکە یانی ئەوە دەی پرۆتۆنی دۆنێت دەکایان ئەکسپتی دەکەن there is no proton بابی من so چاوەڕێ نەکەی ئەوە پرۆتۆنی دۆنێت بکە it's only it will become the acceptor only. How about water molecule? As I told you, this is amphoteric. So the correct answer, which one is a base? Only C. C is a base. Just like this. Acid rain. Inshallah درسي دابي acid rain اشتان بيدلن شبابي من. So I prefer to stop here. لبرو استدز acid rain يبكم درسك زور دو دريج دبتو. حزم لي لدرسي دابي acid rain و hydroxyl hydroxide باس بكم. دەزانمە ڤیددیۆ کورتە بەڵاموانەی پوخت و باش و جوانە ئیسفادەی چاچ لێ دەکەن ئینشاءالله تاوانێ داهاتوو هەرشاد
لەبیرت بێ